On commercial television this week, we got this.
Well, he's, quote, a dangerous fool and a threat to the COVID response of the nation. Those are just some of the scathing reviews of federal member for Hughes, Craig Kelly, over his unfounded and inaccurate comments on the coronavirus.
Did you catch that? Unfounded and inaccurate. That's from Dr. Ali Langdon. Oh, hang on. She's not a doctor. She's a TV presenter. Sorry, host of a thing called The Today Show. So she's obviously an authority on immunology. Carry on, chaps.
Gee, I tell you what, you're fighting with everyone at the moment. I hear you just had a Barney with Tanya Plibersek in the press gallery. Is that true?
Look, I've been very disappointed about the Labor Party making this a partisan issue and attacking me and smearing me and slandering me and actually misrepresenting what I say. All I've been done is posting peer-reviewed articles, the opinions of expert professors and medical experts from around the world. The idea that I've somehow been, posting misinformation is absolutely misinformation itself.
That's not true, Craig. I mean, I spent time online last night and have managed to debunk every one of your theories. They're not peer-reviewed. They're not peer-reviewed. I don't even want to get into this because, I mean, you're the only person saying this. We've got to listen to our doctors and our scientists. Don't you need to pull your head in?
Right. Well, yes. Who do you think you are, Mr. Kelly? An elected member of Parliament quoting valid scientists and research or something? This is Professor Alison Langdon you're speaking with here, and she doesn't want to get into the details, because details are hard. She's happy to just believe what the experts and bureaucrats say, and that is her right, no problem. But we're also not allowed to challenge those experts, apparently, because that might make our brains hurt. Heaven forbid we should be able to hold two conflicting ideas in our brains at once. But do carry on, Alison.
Now, if you only pick up today's papers, the Sydney Morning Herald, Australia's most senior immunologist, Emeritus Professor Robert Clancy, someone that was actually awarded an Order of Australia for his services to immunology and medicine, he has said, and I quote, Craig Kelly is absolutely right. Now, that's our most senior immunologist. So the idea that I completely and utterly reject the idea that I'm out there putting any theories forward. I'm not putting any theories forward at all. Now, yes, some of the studies that I've posted are still undergoing peer review, but many of them have actually been through the peer review process. In fact, I would say the majority of the studies that I've posted have been through the peer review process. And
look,
just because something is
that is just not true, Craig. I mean, one of the studies you quote, it's a Bangladeshi plastic surgeon.
I guess Bangladeshi plastic surgeons aren't doctors. Ali will be apologising to the Bangladeshi community and all plastic surgeons now, no doubt, after that double slur.
I would like to take my medical advice from someone who is knowledgeable in infectious diseases, is an epidemiologist.
Well, that's right. Well, you should listen.
One example
in that
of many
case, you should listen to Professor Robert Clancy. He's our most senior credentialed immunologist in this country. So that's who I believe we should be listening to. Look, and he has said, I'll quote exactly what he's wrote.
You've already quoted it, Craig.
Well, no, I haven't. He also said here, this is very important. He said, from uncertain beginnings, an impressive database has more recently been accumulated that strongly supports the use of hydroxychloroquine and or ivermectin. Their use in concert with the vaccine, so this is not an anti-vax position, their use in concert with the vaccines can no longer be denied. In fact, this is the only science-based opinion. Now, they're not my words. That's not my words. That's not my
study
theories.
You're referring to. That study you're referring to, because this is important. I'm not referring to any study.
You are misrepresenting what I'm saying.
I did my research, Craig, as you asked us to do. You need to listen for a moment.
But hang on,
Ivermectin is a wonderful drug. You are right. If you have scabies or river blindness.
You obviously haven't read. I'm sorry, you are not listening to our. You've got to listen to the science. You've got to listen to.
Are you a scientist? Are you a scientist, Craig? I'm not. I'm not.
I have just quoted the senior immunologist in this country, the most highest credentialed immunologist in this country. Now, are you saying that he's wrong?
I'm saying the chief medical officer. Every global medical body in the world has rejected the use of those
I'm sorry, that is incorrect.
Craig.
That is incorrect.
But you know what? I actually didn't want to get you on here to determine whether or not what you're saying is true or not.
But you are, I'm sorry, with greatest respect, you are making false statements that you are accusing me of, and I have a right to defend them.
You know what? Freedom of speech is one thing, Craig.
You said that everybody in the world, and that is simply untrue. The medical bodies in India use ivermectin. They have it in their standard protocol.
Craig.
I've seen a study recently published, a peer-reviewed study in the American Journal of Medicine that has a treatment protocol that includes both hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. So to say that there's no medical body in the world that approves this, I'm sorry, is incorrect.
He's right. It's disputed, but he's right. And sometimes you have to stand up and fight, just like Craig Kelly did. Langdon didn't back down because she was wrong, however. Like all good 21st century TV hosts, she kept right on going, saying she'd conducted her research, which she clearly hadn't done if she's missing the studies that it took me less than an hour to find and which I just shared with you. The consensus does not support those studies, but they are real studies and they are valid in the mix of the scientific debate. Instead of a balanced, objective approach, Ms. Langdon did what so many left-wingers do when they're losing an argument. They go for the emotional win and play the man instead of the ball.
Craig, we have seen deaths from COVID, we've seen sickness, we've seen mass job losses, hundreds of billions of dollars spent in government stimulus. All our hopes are riding on a vaccine. You need to be quiet.
Well, if you don't want to listen to our most senior qualified immunologists,
I am listening to them, and I think you need to start listening to our scientists and our doctors, Craig.
Our scientist is our most senior qualified immunologist in this country, Professor
Craig.
Robert Clancy, and you are not listening to him. I'm sorry.
No worries, Craig. You're in a position of responsibility, and I think you're failing in that duty.
And I'll continue to speak the truth and tell the truth.
It'd be nice if you started. That would be great.
If the media want to misrepresent my position, I'm going to come on and I'm going to defend it, because I will not have slander and smear and said against me when the facts are incorrect.
Okay, Craig.
The immunologist Robert Clancy is an Emeritus Professor from the University of Newcastle, Australia. That's the expert that Kelly was trying to explain to Tanya Plibersek was the main source for his comments. So ABC Radio Newcastle interviewed Professor Clancy this week, and he backed Mr. Kelly.
On that issue, and you know, there are many issues that Mr. Kelly has that I don't understand, but on that issue, my view is he's absolutely right, that there's overwhelming evidence that hydroxychloroquine works. The studies now are just under 20,000 patients, and these are not counting the country studies, because many countries are using these across the board. But the important thing is that it's used in very early disease. It's like treating any viral illness. As I understand it, Mr. Kelly has actually followed a lot of the literature, and I think he understands that, because when he says that hydroxychloroquine has a place in early treatment, I would think there are many people around the world, very, very senior people across the world, that would totally agree with that. And then I think his other drug is ivermectin, and that's a drug that came in a little later. And it missed the political turmoil that hydroxychloroquine got tied up with when Trump used it. And that's been gaining ground, and the recent data that's coming out for that it's really very persuasive, and many countries now are picking this up.
And that was Professor Robert Clancy, the immunologist referenced by MP Craig Kelly. He's an Emeritus Professor of the University of Newcastle. Science is complex. It evolves. It is not always black and white. But for the Labor lovies in Australia now, it seems that we cannot even debate or discuss science anymore. The science is settled. I mean, science always agrees 100% on everything. When in history has scientific consensus ever been found to be wrong? We have to go with the best science that we have at any given moment in time. And that's why a study on Ivermectin, and yes, more studies on hydroxychloroquine and all of the vaccines, are so necessary. So please, dear politicians and government officials, could you kindly stop treating Australians like we're all children? Thank you.